platform. We'll be continuing with the new lesson, a new lesson that has to do with the structure and function of the parts of a bony fish. To really study any organism, it is very important to know the structure of that organism and to know the parts and the functions of each of the parts of that organism. So we are going to start with these parts one after the other. You just need to look at the board and then you are going to see the structure of the fish, of the bony fish. And I'm going to start one part after the other. You make sure you observe the part very well so that you can be able to understand what we are saying. Now, the first part is the mouth. Mouth is the first part. Now, this mouth, it is wide. That means it is open, and then it has teeth, sharp teeth. And these teeth have the same shape and the same size. We call this kind of arrangement of teeth homodont dentition. Now, what's the function of the mouth? Number one, for ingestion. Remember, I taught you ingestion is the taking in of food into the mouth. The second function of the mouth is for it helps in taking in water, and this taking in of water helps for gaseous exchange or breathing. Now, we go to the next part. The next part is the nostrils. Now, if you look at the bony fish carefully, you discover that there are two small holes just above the mouth. These two small holes are the nostrils, and they help. What's the function of the nostrils? It helps for smell. Now, this enables the bony fish to be able to smell, to detect the presence of chemicals in water. It helps the bony fish to be able to detect the presence of a prey. A prey means what the bony fish feeds on. So it also helps the bony fish to detect the presence of a predator. That simply means what feeds on the bony fish. So it helps in smell. They are able to detect these other things, to detect the chemicals, detect the predator, detect the prey through the help of smell. Now we go to the next structure, which are the eyes. If you look carefully, the eyes of the bony fish, it lies side by side the head of the bony fish. That means there is one eye on one side of the head and then another eye on the other side of the head. And these eyes are naturally large and they don't have an eyelid. An eyelid just simply means the flesh that covers the eyes. Now you see my eyes closed. This flesh covering the eye is what we call the eyelid. So bony fishes do not have an eyelid. Now, what's the function of the eyes? The eyes are there for vision. Vision means to see. Now, we go to the next structure or the next part, which is the operculum. Now, most of you have already noticed or have already observed the operculum when from the assignment I give to you. It is a bony structure that is found on the two sides of the head of the fish. It is able to open and close. The operculum, it opens and covers. This is actually the work of the bony fish in order to participate in gaseous exchange. So it opens up and then to allow water to enter in, and then it closes back also. Now, what's the function of the operculum? Number one, the operculum helps in protecting the gills of the fish, which is the main respiratory organ in the fish. The second function of the bony fish is that, of the operculum, is that it assists in gaseous exchange. Remember, I made you to know that gaseous exchange just simply means the exchange of gases. That means oxygen and carbon dioxide. So, in other words, we can say gaseous exchange is breathing. So, the operculum helps in breathing in the fish. Now, we have looked at the first part of the bony fish being the mouth, the second part number two being the nostrils, part number three being the eyes, and part number four being the operculum. Now, for part number five and number six, and part number 10 and number 11 and number 12, we are going to push it to the end as per naming the parts of the bony fish and their functions. This is the reason is because they have a common characteristic, but so we are going to expatiate on that at the end. So we'll push them to the end. So from part number 4, we are going to move to part number 7. And part number 7 are the scales of the bony fish. So they call them overlapping bony scales. And for those of you who followed the assignment I gave and observed the bar fish clearly, you discover that all over it are the scales. And you discover that the scales are overlapping. Overlapping just simply means they are lying on each other. One is lying on the other, and another is lying on the next, and so on and so forth. Let me show you what I mean by being overlapping. This is what I mean by being overlapping. Check very well. You discover that the direction of the scales are towards the tail. So they are overlapping, and you discover that each of the scale is lying on another one. Now, and the direction of the scale is backward. When I mean backward, I mean towards the tail, not towards the head. That's what I mean by that. Check very well, observe very well. Okay, so that is what I mean. Very good. So, and there are two types of scales. You have the overlapping cycloid scales and the overlapping placoid scales. The cycloid scales, overlapping cycloid scales, are common to the bony fishes. So what you see on the bony fish is the overlapping cycloid scales. Now, what are the functions of the scales? Number one, it helps to cover and protect the body of the bony fish against mechanical injury. What's the meaning of mechanical? Mechanical means physical injury. Without the scales, the fish can easily have bruises in the course of swimming, in the course of collision with other obstacles or with other organisms inside the water. But the scales helps in protecting the body of the fish. The second function of the scale is that it helps to reduce friction between the body of the fish and the water. Remember, anytime you think of friction, you think of rubbing. Are you getting? You think of rubbing. Now, the scales it reduces that rubbing action between the fish and the water. Now, we go to the next part. This part on scales is part number 7. Part number 8 now is what we call the lateral line. The lateral line is a fluid-filled sac that runs from the head of the fish right up to the tail of the fish. When we say fluid-filled, we simply means it is filled with fluid, and fluid is like water. So you yourself can bear witness the bar fish I asked you people to buy. If you look at the body on both sides, you are going to see a line passing through. That line, we call it the lateral line. Now the question is, what's the function of the lateral line? The lateral line serves as a detector. It detects every vibration in water. and this helps the fish to be able to know if there is a predator or if there is a prey. A predator is another animal that feeds on the fish. So the predator is like an enemy to the fish, while the prey is what the fish feeds on. So if there is any vibration in the surrounding water around the fish is able to detect it by the help of its lateral line. Now we go to part number 9. Part number 9 is the anus. It is also called the cloaca. Now this cloaca is an opening where the digestive tract come and meets. The urinary tract comes and meet at that same position, and then you have the reproductive tract also comes and meet at that particular position. So that simply means the fish uses the cloaca number 1 to send out waste product. It can be urine, it can be undigested food substances like feces, as well as it can be a sperm if it is a male fish, or it can be an egg or eggs if it is a female fish. So that's the use of the cloaca or the anus in bony fishes. So remember I told you at the beginning that part number 5, part number 6, part number 10, part number 11, and part number 12, I'm going to talk to you about it at the later end of the video, or at the later end of the lesson. The reason is because they are talking about one particular aspect of the fish, so it's good we deal with it together at once. Now, before going to part number 5, part number 6, part number 10, part number 11, and part number 12, I would like to talk about a special part of the fish which you cannot see outwardly. You may look at the fish. When you look at the bony fish, you discover that you see many structures outwardly, but this structure is only found inside the fish. They call this structure the swim bladder. It is a fluid, is an air-filled sac. So this particular sac is specialized in keeping or retaining air. Now, what's the function of the swim bladder? This swim bladder helps the fish to carry out buoyancy in water. Buoyancy just simply means flotation, meaning the ability of the fish to stay floated in water. Also, this swim bladder helps the fish to be able to change depth in water. The ability for the fish to rise up to the surface of the water or to descend down to the depth of the water depends on this particular structure. Now, how does this structure do in order to carry out this change of depth in water? When it wants to float to the surface of the water, it takes in air. When it takes in air, it floats. When it wants to go to the depth of the water, it sends out the air and then it descends down to the depth. Okay, good. So that's it for that particular structure. Now let us deal with part number 5, part number 6, part number 10, part number 11, and part number 12. All these parts, we call them the fins. Now, part number 5 and part number 6 are principally the paired fins, because there are two kinds of fins. You have the paired fins and you have the unpaired fins. Part number 5 and part number 6 are the paired fins. Now, when we say pair, a pair simply means two the same things working together. They are always together. Two, they always exist in twos. That's what we mean by pairs. So the paired fins, part number 5, part number 6. Part number 5 is called the pelvic fin, while part number 6 is called the pectoral fin. Now, what's the function of these paired fins? What's the function, or what are the functions of the paired fins? That means the pelvic and the pectoral. Number 1, they function in balancing. The ability of the fish to balance in water is due to the help of these paired fins. Number 2, they also function in steering. The ability for the fish to change direction, to direct itself to different parts of the water is by the help of these paired fins. Another function of the paired fins is that they enable the fish to control pitching in water. Pitching just simply means the ability for the fish to raise his head up and raise his head down. Some fishes are able to do almost like lizards, to raise their head up, raise their head down. That ability is called pitching. So the paired fins help the fish to control pitching in water. Now, another function of the paired fins is to put in brakes. So take note, fishes, bony fishes, they have the ability to brake in water just as a car can brake. And this is principally executed by the help of the paired fins. Now, the unpaired fins. The unpaired fins are part number 10, part number 11, and part number 12. Part number 10, we call that fin the dorsal fin. In French, when you say dos, it means back. So the dorsal comes from the word dos, which means the back. So for those of you who did that assignment and observed that barfish very well, that fin at the back part, at the back of it is what we call the dorsal fin. That's part number 10. While part number 11 is the ventral fin. It is also called the anal fin. Why do we call it the anal fin? Because it is just close to the anus. So that's why they call it the anal fin, or they call it the ventral fin. And part number 12 is the caudal fin, or you call it the tail fin. Now, what are the functions of these unpaired fins? What do I mean? The dorsal fin, the tail fin or caudal fin, and the ventral fin or anal fin. What are their functions? Number one, for stabilization. They help the fish for stability. They enable the fish to carry out stability in water. Number two, they help the fish to control rolling in water. What does rolling mean? The ability for the fish to spin in water. Fishes do gymnastics in water, so that ability, we call it rolling. So these unpaired fins help the fish to control rolling in water. They also help the fish to control yawning in water. When I mean yawning, I mean yawning, yawning. Yawning just simply means the ability for the fish to take a zigzag movement in water. Okay, so let's just look at a summary of the structure and functions of the part. Number one, the mouth, which is for taking in of water and food. Number two, the nostrils, which is for smell. Number three, the eyes, which is for vision. Number four, the operculum, which is for the protection of the gills and for gaseous exchange. And then after number four, we went directly to number seven, which is the scales for protection of the body of the fish. And then we went to number 8, which is a lateral line which serves in detection of vibration in water. And then we look at number 9, which is the anus, which is an opening to send out sperm, to send out eggs, to send out feces, to send out urine, and so on. So that is it. And then now we concluded with number 5, number 6, number 10, number 11, number 12, where we said number 5 and number 6 are the paired fins that carry out balancing in water, steering in water, control of pitching in water, brakes in water. And then we talk about the 10th and 11th parts, which are the unpaired fins, which serves for stability in water, controlling of rolling in water, controlling of yawning in water. So the 10th part, the 11th part, the 12th part, they play this role: stability, control of rolling, control of yawning. So this is it for the structure and functions of the parts of a bony fish.